The Book of Yashar, Chapter 6. At that time, after the death of Methuselah, Yahweh said to Noah, "Go with your household into the ark. See, I will gather to you all the animals of the earths, the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and they shall all come and surround the ark. And you shall go and seat yourself by the doors of the ark. And all the beasts, the animals, the birds, shall assemble and place themselves before you. Whichever of them shall come and crouch before you, you shall take and give into the hands of your Banim, who shall bring them to the ark. And all that will stand before you shall leave." And Yahweh brought this about on the next day. And the animals, beasts, and birds came in great multitudes, and surrounded the ark. And Noah went and seated himself by the door of the ark. And all of flesh that crouched before him he brought into the ark, and all that stood before him he left upon the arets. And a lioness came, and her two whelps, male and female, and the three crouched before Noah. And the two whelps rose up against the lioness, and smote her, and made her flee from her place. And she went away, and they returned to their places, and crouched upon the arets before Noah. And the lioness ran away, and stood in the place of the lions. And Noah saw this, and wondered greatly. And he rose, and he took the two whelps, and brought them into the ark. And Noah brought into the ark from all living creatures that were upon the arets, so that there was none left but which Noah brought into the ark. 2 and 2 came to Noah into the ark, but from the clean animals and the clean birds he brought 7 couples, as Elohim had commanded him. And all the animals and beasts and birds were still there, and they surrounded the ark at every place. And the rain had not fallen till 7 days after. And on that day Yahweh caused the whole earth to shake, and the greater light darkened, and the foundations of the world roared, and the whole earth moved violently, and the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and all the fountains in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And Elohim did this mighty act in order to frighten the Banim of males, that there might be no more evil upon the earths. And still the Banim of males would not return from their evil ways. And they increased the wrath of Yahweh at that time, and did not even direct their hearts to all this. And at the end of 7 days, in the 600th year of the height of Noah, the waters of the flood were upon the earths, and all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and all the windows of the Shemaim were opened, and there was rain, and the rain was upon the earths 40 days and 40 nights. And Noah and his household and all the living creatures that were with him came into the ark because of the waters of the flood. And Yahweh shut him in, and all the Banim of males that were left upon the earths became exhausted through the evil because of the rain. For the waters were coming in more violently upon the earths, and the animals and beasts were still surrounding the ark. And the Banim of males assembled together, about 700,000 males and females, and they came unto Noah to the ark. And they called to Noah, saying, "Open for us, that we may come in to you in the ark, for why should we die?" And Noah with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, "Have you not all rebelled against Yahweh, and said that he does not exist? And therefore Yahweh has brought upon you this evil, to destroy and to cut you off from the face of the earth? Is this not the word that I spoke to you 120 years ago? And would you not listen to the voice of Yahweh? And now you desire to live upon the earths." And they said to Noah, "We are ready to return to Yahweh. Only open for us, that we may live and not die." And Noah answered them, saying, "Look, now that you have seen the trouble of your beings, you want to return to Yahweh. Why did you not return during these 120 years which Yahweh granted you as the determined period? But now you come and tell me this because of the troubles of your beings. Now also Yahweh will not listen to you, neither will he give ear to you on this day, so that you will not now succeed in your desires. And the bonding of males approached in order to break into the ark, to come in because of the rain, for they could not bear the rain upon them. And Yahweh sent all the beasts and the animals that stood around the ark, and the beast overpowered them and drove them from that place, and every male went his way, and they again scattered themselves upon the face of the Eretz. And the rain was still falling upon the Eretz, and it fell 40 days and 40 nights, and the waters were mighty on the Eretz. And all flesh that was in the Eretz, all flesh that was on the Eretz or in the waters died, whether males, animals, beasts, creeping creatures, birds of the air. Only Noah remained, and those that were with him in the ark. And the waters were mighty, and they greatly increased upon the Eretz. And they lifted up the ark, and it was raised from the Eretz. And the ark floated on the face of the waters, and it was tossed upon the waters, so that all the living creatures within were turned about like stew in a pot. And great anxiety seized all the living creatures that were in the ark. And the ark was thought to be broken, and all the living creatures that were in the ark were afraid. The lions roared, the oxen lowed, the wolves howled. Every living creature in the ark spoke and lamented in its own tongue, so that their voices reached to a great distance. And Noah and his Banim cried and wept in their troubles. They were greatly afraid that they had reached the gates of death. And Noah appealed to Yahweh, and cried to him because of this. And he said, O Yahweh, assist us, for we have no strength to bear this evil that has come upon us. For the waves of the waters have surrounded us, rushing torrents have frightened us, the snares of death have come before us. Answer us, O Yahweh, answer us, light up your face towards us, and be gracious to us. Redeem us and deliver us. And Yahweh listened to the voice of Noah, and Yahweh remembered him. And the wind passed over the Eretz, and the waters were stilled, and the ark rested. And the fountains of the deep, the windows of the Shamayim were stopped, and the rain from the Shamayim was withheld. And the waters decreased in those days, and the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. And Noah then opened the windows of the ark, and Noah still called out to Yahweh at that time. And he said, O Yahweh, who formed the Eretz, and the Shamayim, and all that are within, bring forth beings from this confinement, and from the prison wherein you have placed us, for I am much wearied with sighing. And Yahweh listened to the voice of Noah, and said to him, When you shall have completed a full year, you shall then go out. And at the turn of the year, when a full year was completed, to Noah's dwelling in the ark, the waters were dried from off the Eretz, and Noah took off the covering of the ark. At that time, on the 27th day of the second month, the Eretz was dry. But Noah and his Banim, and those that were with him, did not go out from the ark until Yahweh told them. And the day came that Yahweh told them to go out, and they all went out from the ark. And they went and returned every one to his way and to his place. And Noah and his Banim dwelt in the land that Elohim had told them. And they served Yahweh all their days. And Yahweh barak Noah and his Banim on their going out from the ark. And he said to them, Be fruitful, and fill all the Eretz. Become strong, increase abundantly, and the Eretz, and multiply. Chapter 7. And these are the names of the Banim of Noah, Japheth, Ham, and Sham. The children were born to them after the flood, for they had taken wives before the flood. These are the Banim of Japheth, Gumar, Magug, Madai, Yahuan, Tubal, Mashak, and Tiraz, 7 Banim. And the Banim of Gumar were Ashkenaz, Ripath, Tugamor, Tugama. The Banim of Magug were Ali Hanath and Lubah. And the children of Madai were Ahun, Zilu, Hadzunim, and Lot. And the Banim of Yahuan were Alisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Dudanim. And the Banim of Tubal were Aripi, Kasad, and Terah. Ta'ari. And the Banim of Mashak were Dadun, Zarun, Shabashni. And the Banim of Tiraz were Banib, Gira, Lupiriun, and Gilat. These are the Banim of Yapat, according to their clans, and their numbers in those days were about 460 males. And these are the Banim of Ham, Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. Canaan, 4 Banim, and the Banim of Cush were Sabah, Hawilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabtaka. And the Banim of Rama were Shabah and Dadan. And the Banim of Mitzrayim were Ludiim, Anamim, Pathrus, Kaslut, and Haptur. And the Banim of Put were Gabal, Hadan, Bana, and Adan. And the Banim of Canaan were Zidun, Hat, Amori, Girgashi, Hiui, Arki, Sini, Arudi, Zimudi, and Hamuti. These are the Banim of Ham, according to their clan, and their numbers in those days were about 730 males. And these are the Banim of Sham, Elam, Ashur, Arpakshad, Ludim, and Aram, 5 Banim. And the Banim of Elam were Shushan, Mahul, and Harmun. And the Banim of Ashar were Mirus, Mukil. And the Banim of Arpakshad were Shalah, Anar, and Ashkul. And the Banim of Ludim were Patur and Bizayun. And the Banim of Aram were Uts, Hul, Gatar, and Mash. These are the Banim of Sham, according to their clans, and their numbers in those days were about 300 males. These are the generations of Sham. Sham brought forth Arpakshad. Arpakshad brought forth Shalah. Shalah brought forth Abar. Abar were born 2 children. The name of one was Pelag, for in his days the Banim of males were divided, and in the latter days the Eretz was divided. And the name of the second was Yuktan, meaning that in the day of the height of the Banim of males were diminished and lessened. These are the Banim of Yuktan: Al-Mudad, Shalap, Hatsar Ma'uat, Yara, Haduram, Uzal, Dikla, Ubal, Abima'al, Shabal, Ophir, Hawilah, Yubam. All these are the Banim of Yuktan. And Pelag his brother brought forth Yan, and Yan brought forth Sarug, and Sarug brought forth Nahor, and Nahor brought forth Terah, and Terah was 38 years old, and he brought forth Haran and Nahor. And Cush, Ban of Ham, Ban of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bore a Ban, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, at that time the Banim of males again began to rebel and transgress against Elohim, and the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the Ban of his old age. And the garments of the skin which Elohim made for Adam and his wife when they went out to the garden, were given to Cush. For after the death of Adam, his wife, their garments were given to Chanuk, the bond of Yarad. And when Chanuk was taken up to Elohim, he gave them to Mathushalah, his bond. And at the death of Mathushalah, Noah took them and brought them into the ark. And they were with him until he went out of the ark. And at their going out, Ham stole their garments from Noah his father. And he took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham brought forth his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret. And they were with Cush much days. And Cush also concealed them from his Banim and his brothers. And when Cush had brought forth Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments. And Elohim gave him might and strength. And he was a mighty hunter on the Eretz. He was a mighty hunter in the field. And he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered the animals upon them before Yahweh. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from among his brothers, and he fought the battles of his Akim against all their enemies round about. And Yahweh delivered all the enemies of his Akim into his hands, and Elohim prospered him from the time to time in his battles, and he reigned on the Eretz. Therefore it became common in those days, when a male sent out those he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like Elohim did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the Eretz, and who succeeded in the battles, that he prevailed against his brothers, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies. So may Elohim strengthen us and deliver us this day. And when Nimrod was 40 years old, at the time when there was a battle between his brothers and the children of Japheth, so that they were in the power of their enemies, and Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the Banim of Cush and their clans, about 460 males, and he also hired about 80 males from some of his friends and acquaintances, and he gave them their wage, and he went with them to battle. And when he was on the way, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that were with him. And he said, do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please. And all the males that went were about 500, and they fought against their enemies, and they destroyed them and subdued them, and Nimrod placing standing officers over them in their respective places. He took some of their children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brothers. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle, after having conquered his enemies, all his Akim, together with those who knew him before, assembled to make him sovereign over them, and they placed the royal crown upon his head. And he appointed over his subjects and peoples princes and judges and rulers, as is the custom among the sovereigns. And he placed Terah, Ban of Nahor, the prince of his army, and he honored him and elevated him above all his princes. And while he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies round about, he advised with his counselor to build a city for his palace, and they did so. And they found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city. And Nimrod called the name of that city he built Shinar, for Yahuwah had fiercely shaken his enemies and destroyed them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned safely. And he fought with his enemies and subdued them. And he prospered in all his battles, and his reign became very great. And all the nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him. And they bowed down to the Eretz, and they brought him offerings, and he became their master and sovereign. And they all dwelt with him in the city of Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the Eretz over all the Banim of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. And all the Eretz was of one tongue, and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of Yahuwah, and he was more wicked than all the males that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days. And he made mighty ones of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against Yahuwah, and taught all his subjects and people of the Eretz his wicked ways. And Marduk, his bond, was more wicked than his father. For every one that hears of the acts of Marduk, bond of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from the wicked goes forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole Eretz, saying, from the wicked goes forth wickedness. And it was common in the words of the males that from that time to this, and Terah, bond of Nahor, prince of Nimrod's army, was in those days very great, and the sight of the sovereign and his subjects. And the sovereign and princes loved him, and they raised him very high. And Terah took the wife, and her name was Dilo, the daughter of Kur Nabu. And the wife of Terah conceived and bore him a bond in those days. Terah was 70 years old when he brought forth, and Terah, the name of his bond that was born to him, Abram, because the sovereign had raised him in those days and honored him above all his princes that were with him. Chapter 8. And it came to be in the night that Abram was born, and all the servants of Terah, and all the wise males of Nimrod and his astrologers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night. And when all the wise males and the astrologers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted their eyes toward the Shemaim that night to look at the stars. And they looked, and see, one very large star came from the east, and ran in the Shemaim, and it swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the Shemaim. And all the wise males of the sovereign and his astrologers were astonished at the sight. The wise males understood this matter, and they knew its importance. And they said to each other, this only foretells the child that has been born to Terah this night will grow up and be fruitful and multiply, and possess all the Eretz, he and his children forever. And he and his seed will slay great sovereigns and inherit their lands. And the wise males and astrologers went home that night, and in the Bakar all these wise males and astrologers rose early and assembled in the appointed house. And they spoke and said to each other, see, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the sovereign. It has not been made known to him. And should this matter get known to the sovereign in the latter days, he will say to us, why have you concealed this matter from me? And then we shall all suffer death. Therefore now let us go and tell the sovereign the sight which we saw, and the interpretation of it, and we shall then remain clear. And they did so, and they all went to the sovereign and bowed down to him to the ground, and they said, may the sovereign live, may the sovereign live. We heard that a bond was born to Terah, bond of Nahor, the prince of your army. And last night we came to his house, and we ate and drank and rejoiced with him that night. When your servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for that night, we lifted up our eyes to the Shemaim, and we saw a great star coming from the east. The same star ran with great speed, and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 sides of the Shemaim. And your servants were astonished at the sight which we saw, and were greatly afraid. And we made our judgment upon the sight, and we knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation of it, that this matter applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly, and become powerful, and kill all the sovereigns of the Eretz, and inherit all their lands, he and his seed forever. And now, our master and sovereign, see that we have truly made known to you what we have seen concerning this child. If it seems good to the sovereign to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil will increase against us, that we and our children shall perish through his evil. And the sovereign heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight. And he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to Terah, I have been told that a bond was born to you last night. And after this matter was observed in the Shemayim at his birth. And now, therefore, give me the child that we may slay him before this evil rises up against us. And I will give you for his value your house full of silver and gold. And Terah answered the sovereign and said to him, My master and sovereign, I have heard your words, and your servant shall do all that his sovereign desires. But my master and sovereign, I will tell you what befell me last night, that I may see what advice the sovereign will give his servant. Then I will answer the sovereign on what he has just spoken. And the sovereign said, Speak. And Terah said to the sovereign, Ayun, bond of Murad, came to me last night, saying, Give to me the great and good-looking horse that the sovereign gave you, and I will give you silver and gold and straw and food for its value. And I said to him, Wait till I see the sovereign concerning your words, and see whatever the sovereign says, that I will do. And now, my master and sovereign, see, I have made this matter known to you, and the advice which my sovereign will give unto his servant, that I will follow. And the sovereign heard the words of Terah, and his wrath was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. And the sovereign answered Terah, and said to him, Are you so foolish, ignorant, or lacking in understanding to do this matter, to give your good-looking horse for silver, or for gold, or even straw and food? Are you so short of silver and gold that you should do this matter because you cannot obtain straw and food to feed your horse? And what silver and gold to you, or straw and food, that you should give away that fine horse which I gave you, like which there is none to be had on the whole Eretz? And the sovereign left off speaking, and Terah answered the sovereign, saying, Like this has the sovereign spoken to his servant. I beg you, my master and sovereign, what is this which you said to me, saying, Give your bond, that we may slay him, and I will give you silver and gold for his value? What shall I do with the silver and gold after the death of my bond? Who shall inherit me? Only then at my death the silver and gold will return to my sovereign who gave it. And when the sovereign heard the words of Terah, the parable which he brought concerning the sovereign, it grieved him greatly, and he was troubled at this word, and his wrath burned within him. And Terah saw the wrath of the sovereign was kindled against him, and he answered the sovereign, saying, All that I have is in the sovereign's power. Whatever the sovereign desires to do to his servant, that let him do. Even my bond, he is in the sovereign's power, without value in exchange. He and his two brothers that are older than he. And the sovereign said to Terah, No, but I will purchase your younger bond for a price. And Terah answered the sovereign, saying, I beg you, my master and sovereign, to let your servant speak a word before you, and let the sovereign hear the word of his servant. And Terah said, Let my sovereign give me 3 days' time to consider this matter within myself, and consult with my clan concerning the words of my sovereign. And he pressed the sovereign greatly to agree to this. And the sovereign listened to Terah, and he did so, and gave him 3 days' time. And Terah went out from the sovereign's presence, and he came home to his clan, and spoke to them all the words of the sovereign, and the people were greatly afraid. And it came to be in the 3rd day that the sovereign sent to Terah, saying, Send me your bond for a price, as I spoke to you, and you shall not do this. I shall send and slay all that you have in your house, so that you shall not even have a dog remaining. And Terah hastened, as the matter was urgent from the sovereign, and he took the child from one of his servants, which his female servant had borne to him that day. And Terah brought the child to the sovereign, and received value for him. And Yahuwah was with Terah, and this matter that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the sovereign took the child from Terah with all his might, and dashed his head on the ground, for he thought it had been Abram. And this was concealed from him that day. And it came to be forgotten by the sovereign, as it was the matter of the providence not to allow Abram's death. And Terah took Abram his bond secretly, together with his mother and nurse, and she and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And Yahuwah was with Abram in the cave, and he grew up. And Abram was in the cave 10 years. And the sovereign and his princes, diviners, and wise men thought the sovereign had killed Abram. Chapter 9. And Haran, born of Terah, Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in those days. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Lot. And she conceived again and bore a daughter, and called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bore a daughter, and called her name Sarai. And Haran was 42 years old when he brought forth Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the height of Abraham. And in those days Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the sovereign and his subjects had forgotten this matter of Abram. And when Abram had came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his Ban Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instruction of Yahuwah and his ways. And no male knew where Abram was. And Abram served Noah and Shem his bond for a long time. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years. And Abram knew Yahuwah from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of Yahuwah until the day of his death, as Noah his Ban Shem had taught him. And all the Banim of the Eretz in those days greatly transgressed Yahuwah, and they rebelled against him, and they served other mighty ones, and they forgot Yahuwah, who had created them in the Eretz. And the inhabitants of the Eretz at that time made for themselves every male his mighty ones of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the Banim of males served them, and they became their mighty ones. And Terah and all his servants, and the sovereign and all his servants, and Terah with all his household, were then the first of those that served mighty ones of wood and stone. And Terah had 12 mighty ones, a large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year, and he served each one monthly. And every month Terah would bring his grain offering and drink offering to his mighty ones. Thus Terah did all the days, and all the generations were wicked in the sight of Yahuwah. And they thus made every male his Elohim, but they forsook Yahuwah, who had created them. And there was not a male found in those days in the whole Eretz who knew Yahuwah, for they served each male his own mighty one, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew Yahuwah in those days. And Abram, Ban of Terah, was becoming great in those days in the house of Noah, and no male knew it, and Yahuwah was with him. And Yahuwah gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of the generation were worthless, and that all their mighty ones were worthless, and were of no use. And Abram saw the greater light shining upon the Eretz, and Abram said to himself, Indeed, now this greater light that shines upon the Eretz is a mighty one, and I will serve him. And Abram served the greater light. In that day he plowed to it, and when the evening came and the greater light went down as usual, and Abram said within himself, Indeed, this cannot be Elohim. And Abram still continued to speak within himself, Who is he who made the Shemayim and the Eretz? Who created upon the Eretz? Where is he? And night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes toward the west, north, south, and east, and he saw that the greater light had vanished from the Eretz, and the day became dark. And Abram saw the greater light, the stars, and the lesser light before him, and he said, Indeed, this is the mighty one who created the whole Eretz, also as male. And see, these his servants are mighty ones around him. And Abram served the lesser light, and plowed to it that night. And in the Bukar, when it was light, and the greater light shone upon the Eretz as usual, Abram saw all the matters of Yahuwah. Alaim had made on the arets, and Abram said to himself, indeed, these are not mighty ones that can make the arets and all male kind, but these are the servants of Alaim. And Abram remained in the house of Noah, and there knew Yahuwah and his ways, and he served Yahuwah all the days of his high. And all the generation forgot Yahuwah, and served other mighty ones of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days, and sovereign Nimrod reigned safely, and all the Eretz was under control, and all the Eretz was of one tongue and words of union. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great males took counsel together, Put, Mitzrayim, Cush, and Canaan, with their clans, and they said to each other, come, let us build for ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching the Shamayim, and we will make ourselves renowned, so that we may reign over the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the Eretz because of their wars. And they all went before the sovereign, and they told the sovereign these words, and the sovereign agreed with them in this matter, and he did so. And all the clans assembled, consisting about 600,000 males, and they went to seek a spacious place of ground to build the city and the tower, and they sought in the whole Eretz, and they found none. Like one valley in the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk, they journeyed there and began to dwell there. And they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had planned to complete. And the building of the tower was a transgression to them and a crime, and they began to build it. And while they were building against Yahuwah Alaim of the Shemayim, they devised in their hearts to go fight against them, to go up into the Shemayim. And all these people and all the clans divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will go up into the Shemayim and fight against them. The second said, we will go up into the Shemayim and place our own mighty ones there and serve them. And the third part said, we will go up to the Shemayim and smite him with bows and spears. And Alaim knew all their works and their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city, and a very high strong tower. Because of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders and their ascent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year. And after that they reached the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus it was done daily. And see, these went up and others came down the whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And if a male fell and died, none of them would look at him. And Yahuwah knew their thoughts, and it came to be when they were building, they shot the arrows towards the Shemayim, and all the arrows fell upon them filled with blood. And when they saw them, each said to each other, indeed, we have slain all those that are in the Shemayim, for this is from Yahuwah in order to cause them to stray, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the Eretz. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this matter daily until much days and years were past. And Alaim said to the 70 messengers who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us go down and confuse their tongues, that one male shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so to them. From that day following, they forgot each male his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime and stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it on his neighbor, that he would die. And they did so much days, and they killed much of them in this way. And Yahuwah smote 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, "We will go up to the Shemaim and serve our mighty ones," became like apes and elephants. And those who said, "We will smite the Shemaim with arrows," Yahweh killed them, one male through the hand of his neighbor. And the third division of those who said, "We will go up to the Shemaim and fight against them," Yahweh scattered them throughout the Eretz. And those who were left among them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole Eretz, and they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called that place Babal, for there Yahweh confused the language of the whole Eretz. See, it was in the east of the land of Shinar. And as for the tower of the Banim of males, of which the Banim of males built, the Eretz opened up its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part of it, and a fire also came down from the Shemaim and burned another third, and the other third is left to this day. It is of that part which is raised, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. And much of the Banim of males died in that tower, a people without number. Chapter 10. And Pelag, Ban of Abar, died in those days, in the 48th year of the height of Abram, Ban of Terah. And all the days of Pelag were 239 years. And when Yahweh had scattered the Banim of males because of their crime at the tower, see, they spread out into much divisions, and all the Banim of males were dispersed into the four corners of the Eretz. And all the clans came to be, each according to its language, its land, or its city. And the Banim of males built much cities according to their clans, in all the places where they went, and throughout the Eretz where Yahweh had scattered them. And afterwards some of them built cities in the places from which they were destroyed, and they called these cities after their own names and the names of their children, or after their particular occurrences. And the Banim of Japheth, Ban of Noah, went and built themselves cities in places where they were scattered, and they called all their cities after their names. And the Banim of Japheth were divided over the face of the Eretz into much divisions and languages. And these are the Banim of Japheth, according to their clans: Gumar, Magog, Madai, Yahuan, Tubal, Mashak, Tiraz. These are the children of Japheth, according to their generations. And the children of Gumar, according to their cities, were Prankum, who dwell in the land of Pranzah, by the river Pranzah, by the river Sinai. And the children of Repus are the Bartunites, who dwell in the land of Bartunia, by the river Ladam, which empties its waters in the great sea Gihon, that is Oceanus. And the children of Tugarma are 10 clans, and these are their names: Buzar, Parzunak, Balgar, Ali Kanum, Ragbib, Tarki, Bid, Zabuk, Ungal, Tilmaz. All these spread and settled in the north and built cities for themselves, and they called their cities after their own names. Those are they who dwell by the rivers Hitla and Yitla to this day. But the clans of Unguli, Balgar, and Parzunak, they dwelt by the river Dubni, and the names of their cities are also according to their own names. And the children of Yahuan are the Yahuanites, who dwell in the land of Macedonia. And the children of Madayara are the Uralim, that dwell in the land of Kursun. And the children of Tubal are those that dwell in the land of Tuscana, by the river of Pashia. And the children of Mashak are the Shebushnites, and the children of Tiraz are the Rushash, and Cushni, and Ungulis. All these went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities that situated by the sea Yabas, by the river Kura, which empties itself in the river Tragan. And the children of Ali Shah are the Almanites, and they also went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities situated between the mountains of Ayub and Shebathmu, and they were the people of Lombardy who dwell opposite of the mountains of Ayub and Shebathmu, and they conquered the land of Italia and remained there to this day. And the children of Shittim are the Rumites who dwell in this valley of Canufia by the river Tibrau. And the children of Dudanim are those who dwell in the cities of the sea of Gihon and the land of Burna. These are the clans of the children of Japheth, according to their cities and languages, when they were scattered after the tower, and they called their cities and their after their names and their occurrences. And these are the names of all their cities according to their clans, which they built in those days after the tower. And the children of Ham were Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan, according to their generation and cities. All these went and built themselves cities as they found fit places for them, and they called their cities after their names of their fathers: Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, Canaan. And the children of Mitzrayim are the Ludim, Anamim, Lahabim, Naptuhim, Patruzim, Kasluhim, Kapturim, 7 clans. All these dwell by the river Shihor, that is the Wadi of Mitzrayim, and they built themselves cities and called them after their own names. And the children of Patrus and Kaslu intermarried together, and from them went forth the Palashites and the Azathites and the Garites and the Gittites and the Akronites, and all 5 clans. These also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after the names of their fathers to this day. And the children of Canaan also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after their names, 11 cities and others without number. And 4 males from the clan of Ham went to the land of the plain. These are the names of the 4 males: Sadum, Amurah, Admah, and Zabuyim. And these males built themselves 4 cities in the land of the plain, and they called the names of their cities after their own names. And they and their children and all that belonged to them in those cities, and they were fruitful and multiplied greatly and dwelt peaceably. And Sair, Ban of Hur, Ban of Hiui, Ban of Canaan, went and found a valley opposite of Mount Paran, and he built a city there, and he and his 7 Banim and his household dwelt there. And he called the city which he had built Sair, according to his name. That is the land of Sair to this day. These are the clans of the children of Ham, according to their languages and cities, when they were scattered to their countries after the tower. And some of the children of Sham, Ban of Noah, father of all the children of Abar, also went and built themselves cities in the places wherein they were scattered, and they called their cities after their names. And the Banim of Sham were Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Ludim, and Aram, and they built themselves cities and called the names of their cities after their names. And Ashur, Ban of Sham, and all his children and his household went out at that time, a very large body of them, and they went to a distant land that they found, and they came upon a very extensive valley in the land that they went to. They built themselves 4 cities and called them after their own names and occurrences. And these are the names of the cities which the children of Ashur built: Ninua, Razin, Kala, and Rahubu Ir. And the children of Ashur dwelt there to this day. And the children of Aram also went and built themselves a city, and they called the name of the city Uts, after their oldest brother. And they dwelt there. That is the land of Uts to this day. And in the 2nd year after the tower of a male from the house of Ashur, whose name was Bala, went from the land of Nineveh to sojourn with his household wherever he could find a place. And they came until opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they dwelt there. And the male rose up and built there a small city, and called its name Bala, after his name, and that is the land of Zuar to this day. These are the clans of the children of Sham, according to their language and cities, after they were scattered over the Eretz after the tower. And every reign, city, and clan of the clans of the children of Noah built themselves much cities after this, and they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So they did all the clans of the children of Noah forever.